Why do you like being involved with Jewish Historical Society of South Carolina?
I just like the interesting banter back and forth about history and where people came from and what they do and why they do it. And I just think it's completely fascinating.
My late husband David was one of the presidents in the past of the Jewish Historical Society, and he encouraged me to come to the meetings with him. And I realized how great the meetings were, so I continued to come.
It gives us an opportunity to be sure that it's passed along from generation to generation, lador vador. And we've worked very hard to make it just that.
For a small state, South Carolina punches above its weight in Jewish history. Of the original 13 colonies, only South Carolina's constitution specified freedom of worship for Jews. Beginning in the late 1600s, with an influx of merchant traders, waves of Jewish immigrants settled in the colony, first Sephardic, then Ashkenazic. Charleston, the early port of entrance for commerce, had the largest population of Jews in the U.S. until as late as 1820. Then immigration tipped toward New York City.
Well, history, South Carolina's Jewish history is just surprising, remarkable, largely unknown, even among South Carolina Jews. And so it was a rich reservoir of information that fascinated people, and it tended to unite people. People had a common interest. Now, some were from older Jewish families that had been here a long time, immigrant families who were interested in that immigrant history. There were Holocaust survivors interested in the state's response to the arrival of Holocaust families and those who helped and supported them.
In 1994, with the understanding that many small-town Jewish communities were dying out, the Jewish Historical Society of South Carolina was founded. We have made it our mission to learn and document the legacy of Jewish immigrants.
I think we have succeeded beyond our wildest expectations. We didn't really know where we were going. We knew we wanted to do something. We wanted to be impactful. The relationship with the College of Charleston proved to be just fascinating and really very beneficial. There's sort of three legs of a stool: the Jewish Studies program, the Jewish Archives and the Library, and the Jewish Historical Society.
The Historical Society partners with the College of Charleston to focus a lens on the South Carolina Jewish experience at conferences and in community projects.
In my second year, we undertook a joint project in which I hired undergraduate research assistants to research and write narratives for every synagogue and Jewish congregation that has ever existed in South Carolina. And so we worked closely with the Jewish Historical Society of South Carolina, who has done a remarkable job documenting the structures, both current and former, of synagogues that stood in South Carolina. My research assistants have essentially come up with histories of the Jewish community for each of those towns. Everyone walks away with a greater understanding of the richness of the modern Jewish experience through having studied the South.
The Historical Society brings the texture of Jewish history to the table, making the academic relevant to the layperson. For the Jewish Merchants Project, Historic Columbia researchers helped chronicle family stores and stories across South Carolina. This fed into our 2015 A Store at Every Crossroads exhibit, featuring photographs and artifacts from the Jewish Heritage Collection. The collection is a distinguished treasure trove of Southern Jewish life spanning centuries.
We have, of course, recipes and different family heirlooms and letters and things like that. And we have some very rare and old items, like family Bibles from the 1600s that were brought with them from Europe to South Carolina. We have miniatures, portraits of Jews living in 1700s in Charleston. We're still finding things that people haven't seen in hundreds of years. We provide kind of a service to tell the stories of the people that came before us.
Mama grew up in Branchville, and when she married a man at either 20 or 21 years older than she. And when I asked her about that, she said, I never did like young men.
We have over 600 recorded and digitized interviews, and still tons of stories that have not been recorded. And it's just the depth and breadth and the humanity in those interviews is so wonderful to hear and to listen to. And even when you think we've told all the stories that we can tell, there's still more.
The energy of the Jewish Historical Society comes from twice-a-year in-person conferences, like BBYO or Temple Youth Group for grown-ups. But in 2020, COVID changed that. When the pandemic hit, the organization reacted like everyone else. First, panic, then a hard pivot to online programming.
During the Mexican-American War, and there's a battle in the war in which all the officers are killed. Robert Rosen and I, under normal circumstances, would have had no time to plan this, but now we began sort of envisioning programs.
The response was amazing. Across the U.S., people logged into thought-provoking monthly programs. At one time, more than 500 people online. With the generosity of our hosts and guests, 21 Sunday Conversations programs maintained our viability, increased engagement, and brought in commitments for organizational support. There's always an opportunity to get involved with the Jewish Historical Society of South Carolina. The need for help is great. Volunteers are the lifeblood of our organization.
Marty Perlmutter asked me to do something with pictures. And what was I going to do with pictures? So I took them all home, scanned them into my computer, and where do I go from here with all these pictures? Well, that became the way I became the webmaster for jhssc.org. And I put stories about different people, and I made sure that there were pictures for all of the different meetings. One of the things that you really find, cemeteries give you all kinds of information. So I made sure that most of the information got on the website, that it could be searched.
In 2015, JHSSC honored Anne for her extraordinary volunteer service.
There's nothing nicer than being appreciated and to be honored in such a wonderful way for doing something that you really love to do.
Mickey Rosenblum is a native Charlestonian. She and her husband, Jeffrey, are early members of the Jewish Historical Society of South Carolina, and Jeffrey is a two-time president. Their daughter, Lisa Strauss, and her husband are raising their daughter in Charleston, a fourth-generation South Carolinian.
It was pretty natural for me to, go into organizations and be a part of them. It was wonderful. These people were amazing people that founded this society. They were intelligent. They were kind. They loved Judaism. So it was a natural that we both would become active in the society at some point. I have lots of friends that do not belong. I've been thinking about it a lot as membership VP of how I'm going to bring them in.
I just joined the Jewish Historical Society this year. My more recent meeting about kugels and collards and about Jewish cooking and the ties that bind us as Southern Jewish families was very uplifting, very happy. And in fact, I was so excited I had to stand up and take the microphone and talk for a while about my own experiences. Well, my daughter is 11, and I think in the past year, we've really turned back to our Jewish roots as we prepare her for her bat mitzvah. And we want to be able to shepherd her into this important time. And it's helped us to get reconnected with the Jewish community.
South Carolina holds more than 300 years of Jewish life. There is still so much history to discover, to explore, to share.
we should be engaging people in their 30s and 40s. And those are our community leaders, and we need to nurture them and bring them along. And so I think our challenge is really to focus on on engaging the next generation.
There are as many ways to study and interpret South Carolina Jewish history as there are generations to come. Please join the Jewish Historical Society of South Carolina and our partners in continuing the work. You can help ensure the future of the past.